It's hard to rank the works of such a legend, but we'll give it a shot. Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 Alan Menken musicals.
And if Alan Menken isn't personally writing you a fairy tale musical at this very moment, I will hunt him down and beat him senseless with a cudgel.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we'll be looking at the greatest musicals written by Alan Menken. We'll also be including Disney movies, so long as they have not been adapted into a stage musical. In those cases, the entry pick will be the musical itself, though we'll still mention the movie for context.
Isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete? Wouldn't you think I'm the genie who has everything?
Number 10. The Apprenticeship of Duddy Kravitz.
Still, the check's already in the mail because I'm leaving St. Urban Street for where I'll get me some money in hand.
The Apprenticeship of Duddy Kravitz has a messy history. It's based off the novel by Canadian author Mordecai Richler, and it was first adapted back in 1984 for Edmonton's Citadel Theatre. However, that adaptation proved an utter failure thanks to its bleak tone, overwhelmingly negative reviews, and Richler's distinctly harsh opinions on the city of Edmonton. Following another poorly received American production, it was ultimately reconceptualized, and a significantly altered version premiered in Montreal in June 2015. This version received a far warmer reception both critically and commercially, and a cast album was eventually released in 2016. It may not be Broadway extravagance like most of Menken's work, but it's a beautiful and reserved story about lofty aspirations and the risks associated with pursuing them.
It may be the best score I've ever written. It's such a book musical score.
Number 9. A Bronx Tale.
The grocer, the peddler, the whole neighborhood. Wherever I go, I know my money's no good. They call me Sing, and I like it.
A Bronx Tale is a renowned one-man show performed by Chaz Palminteri. It originally played in Los Angeles and eventually made its way off-Broadway in the late 80s. It was then made into a critically acclaimed movie directed by Robert De Niro, and a Broadway production followed in 2007. The musical adaptation, by Palminteri, Menken, and Glenn Slater, officially opened on Broadway in December 2016, again co-directed by Robert De Niro. It received solid reviews, with critics singling out the accomplished visual design, stellar performances, especially that of Nick Cordero, and fun doo-wop music from Alan Menken.
You're my lucky charm. Hold on. Use that lucky amazing arm.
The story has been told before, but the infectious music enlivens this Bronx Tale, revitalizing it for a new generation. Number 8. Hercules.
We are the muses, goddesses of the arts, and proclaimers of heroes.
Heroes like Hercules.
Honey, you mean Hercules!
Is Hercules the most underrated Disney movie ever, or what? James Woods' Hades gets all the attention, and rightfully so, it is a great performance, but people often sleep on the great work done by Alan Menken. Sure, it's not one of Disney's most accomplished soundtracks, but why must everything be relative? The movie has an eclectic range of styles and genres, from the unique gospel of Zero to Hero, to the more R&B and doo-wop inspired I Won't Say I'm in Love.
You swoon, you sigh, why deny it? Uh-oh. It's still cliche, I won't say I'm in love.
And who can forget the extravagant show tune Go the Distance, complete with its soaring vocals and lavish strings. It's a shame that this movie underperformed because it's a Disney classic.
I am on my way. I can go the distance.
Number 7. Sister Act.
I'm fabulous, baby. I'm meant to be where the spotlight shines, born to be on display.
Sister Act, a musical adaptation of the Whoopi Goldberg movie of the same name, originally opened at the Pasadena Playhouse in October 2006. Charles McNulty, a critic for the Los Angeles Times, stated that the show had, quote, Broadway blockbuster written all over it. Turns out he was right.
Take me to heaven, take me to ecstasy.
After After a few more runs, including a stint on London's West End, Sister Act opened on Broadway in April 2011, where it ran for 561 performances. Like Hercules, Sister Act features a very 70s-inspired musical style, as it takes place in the late 70s, complete with touches of disco and Motown soul. It was eventually nominated for 5 Tony Awards, including Best Original Score for Menken and Glenn Slater, although it lost to the Book of Mormon. Number 6. The Little Mermaid.
Up where they walk, up where they run, up where they stay all day in the sun, wandering free. Wish I could be part of that world.
While the music of Hercules may be underappreciated, the soundtrack to The Little Mermaid is a bona fide classic.
Under the sea, under the sea.
To fit with the tropical setting, Menken decided to utilize elements of reggae music in songs like Under the Sea and Kiss the Girl to go along with the more traditional show tunes. For the musical adaptation, Menken added a handful of new songs and expanded the sonic reach to include She's in Love and Her Voice, just to name a few.
It's always here, all day, all night, and still I hear it calling.
The timeless soundtrack mixed perfectly with the opulent production design, creating a unique and unforgettable experience. While it wasn't as successful as some of the other Disney Broadway shows, it still favorably received 2 well-earned Tony nominations, including Best Original Score. Number 5. Newsies.
Ain't it a fine life, carrying the venom through it all?
And with this, Newsies was back from the dead. The Disney movie of the same name was released back in 1992, but you may not remember it given that the film absolutely bombed at the box office, making under $3 million on a $15 million budget. Rather surprisingly, a musical adaptation premiered at the Paper Mill Playhouse in 2011 before transitioning to Broadway the following year. Unlike the movie, the musical earned wide critical acclaim and commercial success, running for over 1,000 performances and winning 2 Tony Awards for Best Choreography and Best Original Score. Some people may bemoan Disney constantly remaking their own works, but when the remakes are as lively and exciting as Newsies, we cannot complain. Number 4. Aladdin.
Prince Ali, handsome as hair,
Like its film counterpart, Aladdin was a major accomplishment. Opening on Broadway in March 2014, Aladdin eventually made over $400 million, becoming the 11th highest-grossing Broadway production in history. This is largely thanks to the thrilling choreography from Casey Nicholaw, a hilarious and Tony Award-winning performance from James Monroe Iglehart playing the genie, and of course the classic music of Alan Menken and Company. All the hits are here, from A Whole New World to Prince Ali, but it also contains 7 new songs, 3 of which were originally made for the movie.
Water flows under the bridge, let it pass, let it go. There's no good reason that you should believe me, not yet.
It successfully translated the magic of the film to the stage. And really, what more can you ask for than that?
Let me share this whole new world with you.
Number 3. Beauty and the Beast. If there's one Disney musical production to rule them all, it's Beauty and the Beast. Of course, course, it has a very strong foundation, as the movie is arguably the most beloved Disney work of all time, and a large part of its success is Alan Menken.
As a specimen, yes, I'm intimidating.
I want a guy that's fun.
The movie and musical are filled with some of the most iconic Disney pieces, like the extravagant Be Our Guest, the waltzy Gaston, and obviously the majestic Beauty and the Beast.
Tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, Beauty and the Beast.
The musical added a few more beloved works, like the pop ballad If I Can't Love Her, and it featured an enormous array of instruments including synthesizers, French horns, violins, and even a harp. It's a Broadway extravaganza, and it's absolutely delightful.
If I can't love her.
Number 2, The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Like fire, hellfire, this fire in my skin.
The Hunchback of Notre Dame isn't one of Disney's most popular movies, nor is it one of the most beloved soundtracks. Aside from maybe Hellfire, no songs from the soundtrack have really entered the Disney pantheon. It's an injustice, let us tell you.
Justice!
That said, the stage version was ridiculously good.
If I were senseless, I'd prefer it. Another gargoyle on this turret, spinning rain down.
Featuring 9 new songs, along with the ones from the movie, this show was originally performed in Berlin and became one of the most successful shows in the city's history. It was then brought to San Diego's La Jolla Playhouse and ultimately New Jersey's Paper Mill Playhouse, and it was at the latter where it received stellar reviews for its mesmerizing sets, splendid costumes, and complex arrangements from Menken. It's probably Disney's darkest and most mature musical, but that only made it all the more memorable, and that's why productions of it are still being put on to this day. Now let's just get it to Broadway. Menken is responsible for so many of the soundtracks from my childhood. Ah, heck, the soundtracks of my adulthood too. Here are some other masterpieces he crafted before we feed you number 1.
You're plain, clean, average Americans, and you deserve to eat. You're just dessert.
Does she know that you really, really, truly love her? I've never heard this song. How does she know that you love her?
Number 1, Little Shop of Horrors. A far cry from Menken's Disney work is Little Shop of Horrors, arguably one of the greatest musicals of all time.
In the tractors that we share, somewhere that's green.
Based on the 1960s black comedy film, the musical features a brilliant soundtrack from Menken and Howard Ashman that includes the sounds of 60s rock and roll, and it contains beloved pieces like Somewhere That's Green and Suddenly Seymour. Featuring a wacky blend of parody and B-movie schlock, Little Shop of Horrors became one of the most successful plays in off-Broadway history, and it reached an even wider audience in 1986 when it was adapted into a Frank Oz film.
Does it have to be human?
It oozes charm, and it's easily one of the most distinctive and idiosyncratic musicals you will ever see. In a good way, of course. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.